What do you think then are some of the obstacles that prevent people from identifying maybe the importance of healing sexually?
Well, I think the first obstacle is shame. Sometimes when we have a lot of shame around who we are as a sexual person or how we feel about our bodies, how we feel about being attractive, how we feel about our desirability, how we feel about what is right and wrong about sex. Um, those are the obstacles that can cause us to avoid looking at our sexuality differently. And much of that gets established as we're coming of age, as we're growing up, and it's affected by the culture we grow up in, our parents, our religion, and all the moral values that sometimes surround sexuality, especially in more intense religious upbringings. So, all those things can affect our choice of whether we choose to confront what's going on with us sexually, whether we choose to explore it, our sexuality, with a sense of curiosity and wonder. So, it's like, do we have permission inside of ourselves to take a look at this part of life? And for a lot of people, like, they think about that and they get hit with a sensation in their system that feels icky or that feels dread or that feels anxious. And when we have uncomfortable sensations, we're not really coached to go towards them unless we're already on a transformational path and we've got therapists or support or friends or coaches that are encouraging us to take a look and confront the things that are hard.
I remember speaking to someone that I was dating at a time when I was just coming into this type of knowledge because I was speaking to sex coaches and she turned to me and she's like, why are you speaking to those people? We don't talk about sex. Like there was this, you don't talk about it because it's something that is so sensitive and it's like a sense of vulnerability. And then
Mm.
as I began to speak to more people like yourself and so many others, I didn't realize how many people didn't want to be vulnerable when it came to sex, intimacy, or both. Why do you think that is a block for people to want to open up and say, I want to learn more, regardless of who knows or regardless if the door is locked and the blinds are closed?
That's a really good question. Let's first take a look at the word vulnerable. Vulnerable translates to woundable. So when we are vulnerable, it's like we are emotionally, spiritually, and energetically naked. Now add sex to the conversation and now we're like even more naked, right? It's like it can be very intense to be physically naked. Now we're asking you to get even more naked by emotionally opening yourself up. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to open up my guts and go, oh God, I hope you like what you see. When half the time when we're vulnerable and we're looking in the mirror, we don't like what we see. So the idea that someone else is going to still love us, if we're letting them see that deeply inside of us, and because vulnerability feels naked, we sometimes feel overexposed. And it starts in childhood. Like, remember those experiences of like feeling humiliated or feeling really vulnerable or feeling overexposed because someone embarrasses you, like, especially in front of other people? That's a sense of vulnerability that stays with us. And our system says, oh my God, avoid that at all costs. That's painful. But as we become adults, we want to start building our capacity to welcome vulnerability into our life because there's an amazing thing that happens. I mean, you can probably reflect on this when you think about people who have trusted you when they've been vulnerable. And aren't you touched by their vulnerability? I mean, when someone trusts you and they're raw and they're open and they're showing you their soul and they're revealing their pain and they're worried that they may not be liked when they show you their dark, shadowy bits, but then you see them and you're like so grateful. You feel like it's such a privilege that they trusted you with that. And you love them even more. You feel closer to them because they trusted you with their inner stuff. So what it becomes as we're adults, it's rarely as painful as when we were kids. Now it's this precious thing. And what people need to understand is that when you show your vulnerability, you are more lovable, not less lovable. And you're showing your willingness to trust other people. Granted, you also you have to make wise choices with who you're vulnerable with, because you want to be vulnerable with people who will not ridicule you, who will not gaslight you when you're showing a tender side of yourself. And that's why I find the word and its meaning so interesting, because we are most woundable in those moments where we are stripped down and we are showing our guts. And so I really like just encourage the listeners, like, remember that when someone is vulnerable with you, this is a precious moment. This is a moment where you want to really support that person and know that this is a privilege. Someone's putting their trust in you. And the stronger you become at being vulnerable and trusting others, the more trustworthy you also become, because you know how hard it is to keep returning to vulnerability. And then you become one of those people in life, and people will be vulnerable with you all the time. And there's an authenticity that becomes so irresistible when we move towards vulnerability. But here's like the other important thing I want to mention around this. And that is, you won't be vulnerable very often if you don't trust yourself. So it's one thing to trust out there. This person can hold this for me. It's another thing for you to trust yourself enough to go, I might make a mistake and I might be vulnerable with the wrong person, but I trust I'll be okay. Even if I end up showing something tender to somebody who doesn't get it or doesn't get me or doesn't like what I'm saying, that often stings, but you just gotta know you're gonna be all right. Don't let that stop you from trusting the next person. Your meter of your ability to trust others will get stronger the more you explore this.